I'm climbing Badger Mountain in the snow, wearing only sneakers and a hoodie. It's down around freezing, and I'm actually doing pretty good. This is about the same kind of hike as Tikaboo. It's actually a little easier in most of the places because the slope is quite gentle. I'm going up to Badger Mountain to check out a radio installation I see there. I'm still trying to figure out where the signal from the Tikaboo camera is being beamed.
You will recall from the main video that there's a security camera on Tikaboo Peak, and the output from that camera is much greater than can be handled by the standard weather radio system, which beams up to a geosynchronous satellite. I believe the output from the video is passing through this directional antenna, which is pointed at a hilltop with a bunch of antennas above the town of Alamo. A few days ago, I went to that hilltop to try to find the other antenna, the one that is receiving the signal from Tikaboo Peak.
I'm on that radio hill that you could see from Tikaboo Peak. Remember that this unusual antenna was pointed somewhere, and I followed where it was pointing, and it pointed to this cluster of radio towers here.
So I didn't find exactly what I was looking for. As I suspected, this hill is a cell phone site for Sprint and AT&T, overlooking the town of Alamo and the Pahranagat Valley.
So what I was hoping to find up here is another directional antenna pointing up at Tikaboo Peak, receiving the video signal from up there. I didn't find it. What I found was a bunch of omnidirectional antennas. One of them could be receiving the signal. I just don't have the smoking gun that says this is the antenna that receives the signal and this is the wire that's leading to some box somewhere. So the conclusions of this visit are inconclusive. I can't say for certain that this is the place that the signal is received. That antenna is certainly pointed somewhere. I just can't find the place where it's pointed.
The lack of a smoking gun on the radio hill is what prompted me to take another look at this radio installation on Badger Mountain. There's actually been an installation here since the 1990s, and I always assumed it was some sort of Air Force telemetry connected to the red flag exercises. The antenna on Tikaboo is definitely pointed at the radio hill, but the facility on Badger Mountain could conceivably be within its field of view. It sure would be interesting if this Air Force facility happened to have a directional antenna pointed down at Tikaboo Peak, and that's what prompted me to take this foolhardy hike in the snow. It was foolhardy not only because I was unprepared for the cold, but I took the wrong route. I ended up on the top of yet another side peak of Badger Mountain, this one without a name, and there was a big gulch between me and the actual radio facility. Given the harsh conditions, it did not seem conducive to my physical health to continue on to the radio station, so I turned around and went back. The best that can be said for the journey is I got a better view than I had from Tikaboo, and there does not seem to be any directional antenna on this facility. So I'm back where I started. I know the direction that antenna is pointed in. I just don't know where the receiving antenna is. This would be a good thing to ask DRI.
But I'm afraid I've gone too far here. I've conducted too much research. I've just gone off the deep end. You see, I suffer from a mental illness. I'm not just an apopheniac, I'm also a researchaholic. I can't stop conducting research, and whenever there's a gap in my knowledge, I need to climb mountains and do other stupid stuff in the desert to try to fill it in. And sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes it just muddies the waters. And I'm afraid all of that stuff earlier in this video about the antennas, that's just muddying the waters, because it's not the most important thing. The most important thing here is really very simple. It's what sort of deal with the devil did DRI enter into when it created these weather stations? The Air Force gave DRI money, and DRI did something for the Air Force with that money. And I want to know what they did, what the Air Force wanted, and what DRI did. See, I don't believe in free money. I don't believe that the Department of Defense cares so much about climate change that it's just giving DRI money here and there to build weather stations. I think that if the Air Force is giving a grant, it's right there in black and white. The Air Force gave a grant to DRI to build these weather stations. I think if the Air Force is giving money to an outside agency, it is expecting to get something back in return. And my simplest question for DRI is, what did the Department of Defense ask for in exchange for giving DRI money? What were the requirements of this grant? It's really very simple. Just give us that document. Just tell us what was expected of DRI in this business arrangement. Because that's what it was. It is a business arrangement. DOD paid for something, and I want to know what they got and what DRI gave them. Somehow it ended up there being a weather station right where the Air Force would want it, with a camera right where the Air Force would want it. So I want to know how this happened. I want to see the proposal.
Ugh.